Alright, welcome back. Atiku seeks Wike's support. Obasanjo wishes obeys agenda. The People's Democratic Party (PDP) presidential candidate, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, on Thursday met with the Rivers State Governor Wike in London as part of effort to resolve the crisis with the governor. Based on what you have gathered in line with Punch, Atiku pleaded with Wike to support him in 2023 presidential election. A close associate of the governor, who confided in the Punch as well, said the former vice president had agreed to meet all the demands of Wike. Earlier on Thursday in London, the United Kingdom, former President Olusegun Obasanjo met Wike in a move aimed at building broad support for the aspiration of the Labour Party's presidential candidate, of course, Peter Obi. Beside Wike and Obi, alliance of the Rivers State Governor, including Governors Seyi Makinde of Oyo State, Samuel Otom of Borno State, Okezie Ikpeazu of Abia State, and former Cross River State Governor Donald Duke were also at the meeting. Meanwhile, the relationship between Atiku and Wike worsened a few months ago after the PDP presidential primary, which was won by the former vice president. Atiku reportedly shunned the recommendation of a PDP committee which recommended Wike, who came second at the presidential primary, as the running mate. Onto this, Wike became resentful after Atiku chose the Delta State Governor, Ifeanyi Okowa, as his running mate. Although the PDP set up a panel to reconcile the two men, Wike insisted on the removal of the party's chairman, Iyorchia Agu. The meeting of the Peace Committee, comparing loyalties of Wike and Atiku, ended in a deadlock in Port Harcourt on Friday, as the former vice president's men did not grant the request of the governor that Ayu should be removed. It was meanwhile gathered that Atiku's delegation rejected a demand that the PDP presidential candidate should serve one term if elected, while a highly reliable source at the meeting between Atiku and Wike in London said the Adamawa State Governor Amadou Fantia accompanied the former vice president to the meeting. Although the source did not specify Wike's request, he said Atiku and had agreed to meet at all the demand of the governor. The source stated Atiku has agreed to meet all demands. He will sign an undertaking on all the agreements once he is able to meet them. The Wike group is ready to work with him. The details will be made known. Meanwhile, earlier on Thursday, the Punch learned that the Association of the River Governor expressed their preference for the All Progressive Congress presidential candidate Bola Tinubu over Obi. Wike, meanwhile, and the ex-Lagos State Governor had met in London on Monday. The former PDP running mate, placeholder Ibrahim Masari, on Wednesday confirmed that Tinubu met Wike, adding that they would continue to meet in due course. Onto this, the meeting was basically on the 2023 general, presidential election, and by God's grace, we are going to work with Governor Wike. He will assist, and we are all going to win the election with ease, by the will of God, he told the BBC Hausa from London. Wike's meeting, according to him, Wike does not have to leave the People's Democratic Party (PDP) before working for Tinubu. Tinubu, of course, who had come under heavy criticism over his performances for a Muslim ticket, is seeking to bolster his chances at the February 28 presidential poll by luring Wike to his camp. Confirming the meeting between Obasanjo and Wike on Thursday, a member of the Rivers State governor's camp who spoke on condition for anonymity because he was not authorized to speak to the press on the matter, disclosed that the meeting was about the 2023 presidential election. Onto this, when asked by the Punch, it's okay if there was a possibility of an Obi-Wike alliance. The source said Obasanjo is working on that, but many of us, Wike's camp, prefer Tinubu. Shedding more light on the camp's preferences, he added Tinubu has a political structure and base. Although Obi is obedient, he doesn't have a structure and base. Obi's candidacy will only rub off on the PDP's stronghold. Another close associate of the Rivers State governor who confirmed or who confided in one of our correspondents said Obasanjo hinged his support for Obi on the need for the Southeast to produce the next president. Meanwhile, the source who was privy to what happened at the meeting with Obi stated, "You know Obasanjo, if he believed in something, he works for it. His presence at the meeting was to convince Wike to support Obi. He believes the Labour Party's presidential candidate is competent." Meanwhile, the spokesperson for the People for Peter Obi Support Network, Onwosoya John, confirmed the meeting to the Punch. He said, I quote, "I can confirm that Peter Obi met with these PDP governors and our former president, His Excellency Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, in London. And I can tell you that this is one out of several such meetings that have been held and will still be held as we approach the 2023 elections." Of course, the discussion is centered on salvaging our dear country from an imminent collapse, and there is a consciousness and a consensus among Nigerian patriots that Peter Obi is the most reliable of the candidates to drive this vision. Meanwhile, the National Vice Chairman Southeast of the PDP, Dr. Ijoma Aradiobu, on Thursday expressed optimism that former Minister of Transportation Rotimi Amechi would have no option but to work with Wike if he agreed to defect to APC. Aradiobu disclosed that Amechi should or must learn to leave his past behind him and be willing to accommodate his personnel for the sake of the party's presidential candidate. While speaking to us on Thursday, the APC National Vice Chairman for Southeast recalled that both Amechi and Wike were close friends from university days before their political differences. Amechi's options, he said, "I don't think Wike's coming will push Amechi out of party. Instead, it should unite both friends in the same case, especially if both of them one day or the other are convinced that our presidential candidate will emerge victorious, because the Wike I know will not engage in any meeting with Tinubu if he does not see the possibility of Tinubu emerging as the president. No one or nobody want to belong to the losing camp." All right, my wonderful people, I see the possibility of them, Amechi and Wike, coming or working together, since both of them believe that Tinubu will be the next president of Nigeria. We are friends, and I believe that if they have the room to work together, they will definitely not hesitate. Well, the former vice and the former minister of communication, Adebayo Shetu, does not share the same opinion. Shetu, meanwhile, declared that Amechi had shown nothing but resentment and a lukewarm attitude towards Tinubu. The Director General of Asiwaju Tinubu Shetima Coalition for Good Governance believes that Wike's coming to the APC will inevitably display the relegate Amechi. Onto this, he has been very lukewarm, hoping that a miracle will definitely turn things in his favor. If it eventually happens, the fiction Wike will push him aside and will also know that he is smart. Alright, my wonderful people, Wike is currently playing psychological warfare against the PDP and leaving them to second choice or second guess if he will leave the party or not. His mission is simply vendetta against the PDP, just to ensure they lose votes, to teach them a lesson, he stated. And to this, Shatu's position was also shared by a former deputy spokesperson for the APC, Yekini Nabana, who mentioned that what Wike was doing was not different from what Amechi did when he left his old party with other members of the NDPD, now PDP. According to him, politics dwells largely on members' interests and the negotiations void of emotion. He started saying that politics is all about negotiation. Once the big people come in, some other people will take the back seat. You know what happened in Rivers State when the governor came in? People took the back seat. Of course, you cannot have a sitting governor and someone else will become a leader. It is unto this the way Amechi built his system. We are beginning to see the weakest side and have not seen such or much of Amechi. Maybe he has a game plan he don't know, or we don't know, but everything will play out at the appropriate time. My God, wonderful people. But in a chieftains of PDP in River State, Chief Chukwemeka Eze, in an interview with The Punch last time, said it was surprising for anyone to, of course, accuse Amechi of not approaching Tinubu. Eze, who was reacting to the actualization that Amechi had been lukewarm to Tinubu's presidential campaign, said the former minister congratulated the presidential candidate and promised to support him in the 2023 election. Also on Thursday, 3 months after the APC presidential primary, which was won by Tinubu, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, Amechi, and 20 other aspirants were expected to meet again in Abuja in August 30th or 31st. A statement issued on Thursday by the media team of the APC youngest aspirant, Dr. Nicholas Felix, disclosed that eventually all the aspirants who participated in the last presidential convention would converge on Abuja next week. Meanwhile, the statement partly disclosed the special invitation to the strategic meeting of all 2023 presidential and PDP presidential and APC presidential aspirants, which will be held at Transcorp Hilton in Abuja on Wednesday, August 2023, as at 31st, 2022, by 2 p.m. is to blossom on adopting winning campaign strategies that will definitely carry every Nigerian along and address the challenges bedealing other countries. Those expected at the party also including a former Vice and Science and Technology Minister, Obasanjo, former Minister of State for Education, Chukwuemeka Nwajuba, and the ex-Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Godwill Akpabia. Governors Yahaya Bello Kogi, Dave Umahi of Ebonyi State, Abubakar Baldaru Jigawa, Ben Yade Cross River, and Kayode Fayomi Ekiti were also listed among the aspirants expected at the meeting. Others are the President of the Senate Ahmed Lawan, a former Ogun State Governor and serving Senator Ibekunle Amosun, a serving Governor and Senator Ayaje Arofis, former Zamfara Governor Ahmed Sani, former Imo State Governor, and the serving Senator Rochas Okorocha, a former Senate President King Namani, a former Speaker of the House of Representatives, of course, Dimeji Bankole, Fari Cleric, Tunde Bakari, pastor and businessman Dr. Nakalas Felix, former Information Minister Ike Obiosi, Mokandu Leo, and Jack Rich, and the only female among them, Uju Ken Onyeneye. The aspirant last outstanding and outing together was the APC presidential primary, which was held at Eagle Square from June 7 to 10. Meanwhile, Atiku advised supporters. Unto this, the PDP presidential candidate has called on all stakeholders of the party and his supporters to desist from making statements that we are capable of compromising the ongoing reconciliation process. According to him, such a recommendation and such a reconciliation would further strengthen the party and bring all its leaders together. Meanwhile, the former vice president said this in a statement signed by the media aide or media advisor Paul Ibe in Abuja on Thursday. He then said it has became impressive to appeal to all party members, leaders, and everyone related to, connected with, or associated with the presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, to desist from making comment that potentially reduce the optimism or the optic of PDP's image as a united political party. This appeal became necessary in order to call the attention of PDP or party leaders and members of the individuality ethnics of the ruling All Progressive Congress, which in manufacturing a false impression of division within the PDP aims to hoodwink the Nigerian public to overlook the monumental failure of the ruling party. Onto this, today, Nigerians look up to the People's Democratic Party (PDP) to lead the charge on outstanding the ruling party. This expectation from the peoples is the reason why the PDP and the APC gentizry about the implementing and the impending fall in next year's general election. My wonderful people, it is also very reasonable, and that is the reason why the ruling party is manipulating the political process to create a sense of division in the 2023 election in the PDP. Meanwhile, it is for the reason for the appeal to every true members of the PDP and everyone who truly wishes the success of the PDP presidential candidate to not fall for the ethnics of the APC in the making statement that will give credence to the false claim of division in the in the PDP. All right, on today's, all the leaders of the party, including especially the governor of Rivers State, His Excellency Wike, and all governors of the PDP are united in working for the victory of the PDP in the next year's general election. Of course, it is coming or drawing near across the board. All right, my wonderful people, what more are we going to say in this regard? As a lot has really been said about Atiku seeks Wike support right in Abuja, in United Kingdom, London. Obasanjo pushes Obi agenda. All right, let me have your take on this matter. Remember to send them, and remember as well to subscribe, and then send your take on today's, my wonderful people. Thanks and God bless.